everyone, my name is Roisin Liu, and this week for our vulnerable populations, we will be differing from last week's, which was, last week's was immigrant students in local schools, and this week will be special education children. So before I dive into it, I want to talk about the sources that I used. I talked about I used the video presentation that was the dispute resolution for special education presentation. I used the U.S. Department of Education page, and I also spoke to my mom about this. It was a great primary resource, and she has been through all of the processes with my brother in legal advocation and talking to teachers and a bunch of other advocates. So it was lovely to hear her perspective different from mine. Without further ado, let's dive into it. The big policy we'll be talking about today is called IDEA. This is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. This is our blanket umbrella policy that really got the ball rolling. It was finally enacted in November of 1975, which is interesting. Something new that I hadn't learned about before was, I believe this was Section 504. It had started being enacted in 1973. So before IDEA was finally and truly passed, this policy was being upheld until, we had our big blanket policy of IDEA. But we have IDEA, and then going into it, we have three big subsections I want to talk about. We have FAPE or FAPE, LRE, and Section 504. So let's talk about FAPE. This is our free access to public education act. This is for all children with special needs to be able to have that access to education and without discrimination. That was the big thing, that students weren't seen the same, whether they were differently abled or considered not differently abled. This allows all children to have education. And this works really well with LRE, least restrictive environment. Least restrictive environment is allowing students to have all the supports they need, allowing them to be in a setting with those considered not differently abled to the maximum capacity. And if those students need more support, they get all the support they need. And we're kind of finding that happy medium between having too much support and having no support at all. And I'll be talking about this in a little bit again. Bear with me. Keep it here. We're going to the next one called Section 504. This is a basic anti-discriminatory part of IDEA, and this just talks about that students cannot be discriminated against based off of their different abilities. Now, coming back to LRE. This is where I think this act can be applied to students, where IEPs come into play. These are meetings that happen multiple times a year between teachers, like a board of teachers, the student, and the student's parents, to try to find that happy medium of how much support the student needs and what the environment they learn best is in. And it's constant communication and constant trial and error to know what is going to help the student the best. This was such a lovely thing to delve into. I'm so glad that I have such passion for special education, and that this was, a vulnerable population I was allowed to study. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate your attention, and I hope you have an absolutely lovely weekend ahead. Take care now. Bye-bye.